Hi everyone, I'm Mara Webster with SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and we are here today for another Conversations at Home. I just want to quickly remind everyone that we are still raising money for COVID-19 and SAG-AFTRA members who are currently out of work due to all the closed productions, and you can find a link below in the video description to find more information, and if you're a SAG-AFTRA member, to sign up for assistance if you are in need at the moment. I'm really thrilled today to be joined by Stott, who is appearing in the current Hulu series Little Fires Everywhere, which is, I think, my new favorite binge obsession at the moment during quarantine and staying at home. Thank you so much for joining us today, Megan. What have your days been looking like the last couple of weeks?
Actually, they've been kind of nice. I've been able to do more things that I haven't been able to do, and I've been doing a lot of baking. I'm cooking cookies every weekend, every day that we can. And for our family, what we're doing is basically making a different culture of food every weekend. So that's been quite fun.
That's amazing. What are some of the food cultures that you've experimented with so far?
So far, we have done German, Italian, and I think Thai. Yeah, Thai, German, and Italian.
That's amazing. I might steal that idea for myself.
It's fun. It's very fun. And because I have a lot of siblings and we have a large family, it's fun because we each get to cook a different night. So then we kind of learn how to make certain things, and yeah.
That's also an excellent division of labor by your parents.
It's fun though, and yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and talk about Little Fires Everywhere. I was interested in how your audition for the show was, and if you remember what scene it was that you read when you were auditioning for the role of Izzy.
Mm-hmm. So I heard something with Reese Witherspoon was being produced, and they were figuring what they were doing, and I was like, when is this come? I want to audition for this. I want to audition for this. And so I talked to my agent, so it's like, when it comes out, we'll tell you, and we'll get you an audition. I'm like, okay. So finally I got the audition for it a while later, and I'd already read the book beforehand. And so when I got the audition, I didn't think I was totally like Izzy. When I first got it, I was like, should I be Izzy? I feel like I could do it, but I don't feel like it would be my strong suit. And so I went in there, and my mom kind of used to be a teenager like Izzy. So she was kind of like, let me tell you the trades of a rebellious teenager. Let me tell you. So she kind of helped me with that. And so I went in there, and it felt like the minute I got a call back and I met the Liz, who's the writer for the show, and I met Lynn, who's one of the directors, it felt like that's where I was meant to be. This was the role I was supposed to be in, and it was kind of like an in-awe moment where the light bulb goes off on top of your head. And it was incredible to be able to meet everybody. And my first audition where I got to meet some of the kids, I first met Jade, actually. And at first I was like, oh, she's kind of serious. She's very professional. And then we got on set, and she's just like this funny goofball. And I'm like, never mind. That was just in first impressions. And I was like, first impressions are nothing. You meet somebody, it happens. It was nice though. I think the audition process went really well, and the funny thing was every time I'd go in there was a little Labradoodle, and he was white. And he was the cutest little dude ever, and he would play with the shadows. And so I'd play with him the entire time, and eventually they'd call me, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, right. It's an audition, not just playing with the dog.
I love it. And then once you got the role and you were sitting at home with the scripts, knowing that you were going to go into production soon, what sort of time would you spend with yourself? What's your process for preparing to play a character like this?
For me, I would journal. I read the entire script, and I made sure that I knew everything that was going on with Izzy mentally and emotionally, and then I would kind of write down before the day or before the scene of the day, I would write down what happened that week in her life, and I would kind of write down a synopsis of what was going on, and then I would kind of, before I went in there, I would review what I had written, and it kind of got me into that mental headspace if I wasn't already there, because before I would go there in the car, I would listen to, I would blare music in my car on the way to set, and you'd be like Alanis Morissette, You Ought to Know kind of songs, and some Chemical Romance in there. Yeah, and then after that, once I put on the outfit and the whole attire of Izzy, kind of just slipped in there.
That's so fantastic. I was also interested because obviously the show is set in the 90s, and beyond just the cultural references, that was kind of my time growing up. So I love it for that reason to begin with. But I feel like people communicated a little bit differently in the way that we see you connecting with each other, because there wasn't social media, people didn't have cell phones, so there was a lot more face-to-face interaction. Did you think about the way that they all communicated together differently at all?
I felt like in some ways it was very positive, and in other ways it wasn't. I mean, I think it was great that in that time you had to go to somebody's house to go and talk to them. You had to pick up a phone and call them and really speak to them instead of just texting and going on social media and seeing what their latest post was to see if that's who they really are or something like that. And I think in a sense it was kind of positive, because right now technology is such a prevalent thing, and I think it has some downsides, especially to like teenagers, things like that. But I also think that it was a bit of a downside because it was weird for me because I knew Jade has a pager, and I still don't know really what that is. I know the thing of it, and it's a square and you put it on your belt, but that's pretty much all I know. And so it was fun to see like everybody else like doing that. And the communication, I think at that time, was socially and economically, it was very different from today's time. It was unacceptable to talk about certain things. And I think now you can talk about really anything in this time, which I think is kind of nice, and you can have open conversations with people who might be on the other side of that, or you're in the same conversation and you're both on the same side. And I think it has improved today, which I kind of like.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad, because we wouldn't even be able to do this right now if we didn't have the technology that we have today.
No, we would not.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your relationship with Jade as well, because I feel like, you have a close relationship on screen with all of the siblings, but there's a really interesting difference between those two characters, because you're playing Izzy, who really wants that love and acceptance from her family, and she sees her sister getting it, which I feel like creates a distance between the two of them. So how did the two of you navigate playing those two roles alongside each other?
We talked a lot about it, and I think for us, for Izzy especially, she gives love to anybody who is her idealistic version of perfection. And to Izzy, they have a lot in common. Izzy can tell that Lexi is
Is one of the other characters called Lexi in real life.
Yeah, it's very confusing. That Lexi, she's really just looking for love, and she isn't really this perfect human being, and she knows that she's going through things, and it's just like they're a room apart and they stand there and they want to talk to each other, but they're afraid to emotionally open up to someone they're afraid of getting hurt, basically. They're afraid of someone telling their parents or something coming out, or emotions that they don't want to feel being there, because they've always had this emotion and connection where they don't really speak to each other, and where it's like they both tease each other, or they're both mean to each other. And I think that we did have to talk a lot about what our relationship was on screen compared to off screen, because off screen, I love Jade. She's amazing. She's a beautiful actress. And I think that being able to balance those two is difficult, but I think in the end, we did a pretty good job.
Yeah. One of the other relationships that I really thought was so beautifully done by you was the relationship with Reese Witherspoon, who plays your mother in the show. Because again, there's this push and pull. Izzy's trying to rebel against certain things. She's creating a lot of distance between her and her family. But at the same time, there's some really beautiful, intimate moments, like the scene where Elena comes in and she helps you shave your legs and put makeup on, and really kind of tender, close, emotional moments together. So how did you and Reese figure out what those different moments were going to be in each scene?
It was it was very interesting, the dynamic of having those conversations. I think I especially had, for a lot of those scenes with Reese, I had a lot of talks with Liz, and I had a lot of talks with Lynn and the directors and all the writers on certain episodes. And I think that she's an amazing actress, and I think she goes into so much detail, even for not even her own character. She kind of already knew the mental headspace of Izzy before I even realized that that was the total way she was. And I think it really helped to have those conversations, and especially for the angry scenes, upsetting scenes, we talked a lot, and it was nice because afterwards it was very comforting, and she's a mother, and I think that's a great thing because she was able to comfort me in scenes when I was crying and we were in scenes together, and she was able to like be there for me. And afterwards she was like, I'm so sorry, you know that's not me, I would never do this, you're an amazing actress, that was great. And she would kind of like comfort you to make sure you're okay, because those scenes they're hard and you gotta do them. But when you have somebody like Reese, who's such a amazing person, it's nice to have somebody who's so generous with their work.
Yeah, and how about the relationship with Izzy's dad, played by Joshua Jackson, as well? Because there's a different dynamic between the two of them. It feels like she trusts him a lot more. So you were playing a completely different parental relationship with him than you were with Reese.
Yeah, I think for Josh and Izzy's relationship, it was difficult because they do have a closer relationship than what she has with Elena, but at the same time, Elena they're both really the same. I mean, they give some sort of kind of love in certain moments, and I think for the relationship between Josh and Izzy, she needs that constant love and respect and emotional and physical help that he can't always give her, because he has his own problems and he has his own things he's dealing with, especially with Elena and his job and things like that. And I think that it is hard for her because she doesn't have that constant thing that she always needs. And that's kind of why she turns to Mia, because her dad gives her something, but it's not enough. It's not enough where she can be sustainable and have a better relationship than what she has in her entire family.
Yeah, I really loved it. And obviously Izzy is partly drawn to Mia because of her own creativity. Mm-hmm. Did you find that, because you're also a singer and songwriter, that really made you understood where she was coming from and made it easier to tap into that side of her?
Yeah, I think it did, because being able to have, for Izzy, she had this, in order to release her stress and her anger and her sadness, it was between the art and the music and the instruments. It was between all of that where she was able to release anything she's built up. And I think for Mia and their relationship, it helped. Like the first time they met each other on the lawn, it was like, you're an artist, we got to stick together. And it was like nobody has ever called her an artist ever. And I think it was just like this turning point for her. And for me, connecting with Izzy was nice because I had played violin. So I was able to connect with her in the way that I knew what violin was like. And I knew that it was such a beautiful instrument that you can really emotionally express everything you want to in these songs, because they're so loud and rhythmy and interesting. Yeah, and I think it was fun to have that side of myself connecting to Izzy. I think it helped a lot more than I thought it would.
That's so fantastic. I also wanted to ask you a little bit about kind of Izzy coming into her own confidence and also for yourself as an actor going through that journey at the same time, because I saw an interview that you did where Kerry Washington was saying how she really felt like she watched your confidence grow as an actor through making the show. And I was interested what you feel that you really developed in terms of your skill set and what you learned about yourself as an actor from making the show.
Yeah, I think Izzy was she wasn't myself, and I think that's what made it so fun, because she wasn't the typical teenage girl. She is the teenage girl who has a lot of trouble in her mind and her thoughts and what she's feeling. And I think that being able to do and play something like Izzy for me was humbling in a way, because she made me realize, she didn't make me realize, but she really expressed that I say this a lot, but people literally just want love. That is a human being. They want love, they want comfort, they want a relationship where they can hug somebody and feel safe. And I think that in the way that Izzy over time is growing her confidence and realizing things about herself and about her family and things like that really helped me to realize and look deeper into myself on the things that I might hide and the emotions that I don't really want to express. It made me think about who I really am in the sense of Izzy as well. And I think that I think anybody who would play any role kind of discover something new about themselves. And like Carrie said, it did grow my confidence a lot, especially because I'd never been in anything before this. And it made me realize each person is different. They have different tactics to getting into their mental headspace of their character. They're different on how they portray their character. Like Jordan, he never read the book beforehand because he wanted to give his own perspective on Trip, and everybody has something new. And I think that really helped me to realize that is just, I'm different from every single person out there. Each person is special in their own way, and I think that what Carrie said is true. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you about the unique connection that this role has brought you with audience members who are watching it, because you play Izzy's coming out story and kind of understanding who she is and her family coming together with her really, really beautifully and really sensitively. And I've seen online that it's something that's really connecting with people in a beautiful way. And so I was interested about how that experience has been for you, because you've also spoken about it so eloquently, I think, as well.
Thank you. For me, when a lot of people ask, like, were you surprised by what Izzy is going through? And I have to say, when I first read it, I was like, not really. I mean, it made sense. It made sense of why she did these things. It made sense. It gave more depth into her character on why she did certain things or how she portrayed certain things. And I think that I really wanted to, in the beginning, I wanted to portray that side of things in the best way possible. So I did ask many people many questions, and I asked Liz especially, and I was like, what was your childhood like? What did you have to deal with this? Can you tell me about your story? And I tried to really understand what people were going through so that I had the right perspective and understanding, because I've never dealt with that before. And I think it's really important that these stories come out and people understand what kids are going through, especially in today's time as well, because things like that kind of still happen today. You might not see them or hear about them, but they still happen. And I think that being able to play that and people responding well to it makes my heart very happy.
Yeah, I think you have so much to be proud of, not just in the way that you played the role, but in the way that you've kind of taken on that responsibility and the way that you speak about everything of who Izzy is and the journey that she goes through in the show. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I hope that everyone watching this, if they haven't already started watching Little Fires Everywhere, will check it out on Hulu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.